Hey everybody, Dr. Josh Axe here. Welcome to Live. I'm going to be doing Q&A and answering your most pressing questions here today. Hey, do me a favor, by the way, right now I'm on Instagram, hey everybody, and on Facebook and YouTube. Let me know the city you're from, the state you're from, the country you're from, and I'll give you a shout out right now here in Going Live. And I want to answer questions regarding your health questions. I'm also, you probably know this, my podcast, The Growth Lab now, expanding, getting more into spiritual growth, personal growth, and how to become the best you. And so I also ask your questions about mindset, leadership, relationships, all those things. But I see right now we got Tim joining me from Douglas, Wyoming. Hey, Tim, thanks for joining me here today. We have Sierra from Anaheim, California. Hey, Sierra, thanks for joining me here today. We've got I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but Skragenjank from Greece. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here today from around the globe. We've got El Dorado Hills, California, Larissa. We've got Redding, California, Queenie 50. We've got Nax 6695 from Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. Dana Point, California. Harmony and Healing Therapies, and a lot more. So, hey, feel free to ask your questions here right now. And I see we've got a lot of people joining me from Facebook and YouTube as well. I got Lisa Slattery from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Life of Breeze from Wisconsin. Hey, thanks for joining me here today, everybody. And somebody from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. Hey, good to see my fellow Buckeyes on here as well. All right, so I'm going to start jumping in here and answering your questions. And so I got a question here. First one is regarding shingles. She says she gets shingles in her eye for 3 years. How do you get rid of shingles? So shingles is related primarily to stress, but it is a virus that affects your dermatome. Big thing for shingles is you need to boost your immune system with zinc and vitamin B12. So do high dose vitamin B12. You also want to do zinc. Topically, I like colloidal silver and essential oils. Also, olive leaf. Olive leaf is probably my favorite herb for fighting the shingles virus. Got a question here from Big KD here on YouTube. Best for hair loss. If you are losing your hair, it typically is due to, it's actually partly a hormonal issue. And if you're a man, best thing you could take is saw palmetto. Saw palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, actually zinc as well is important. You can do some of those that can actually help hair loss. Great question here. Great questions here from everybody. Okay. Maria is asking, what food is best for pregnancy? If you are pregnant, you want to really strengthen up in Chinese medicine something called your earth element. And so you want to do a lot of things that are orange in color, specifically like in red. So think of Thanksgiving foods are best for pregnancy. Pumpkin pie without the sugar, okay? Sweet potatoes, grass-fed beef, shepherd's pie, beef stew. But a lot of things like beef and turkey, lamb, sweet potato, butternut squash soup are very, very good. I really like ginger as well, but those are some of the best foods there for pregnancy. Let's see here. Okay, got some other questions here coming in. Dr. Rice, what do I do for inflammation for a knee? So listen, if you have inflammation in your body, here are the top 5 things you could take. Number 1 is bone broth or collagen. You can take this as a supplement, but bone broth is the number 1. Take 2 scoops of a bone broth protein daily, or just drink bone broth at breakfast and in the evening as well. That's number 1. Number 2, high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. So take a fish oil supplement, about 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams daily, and then also load up on the salmon and the tuna and sardine, the healthy fish, those fatty fish. That's number 2 in effectiveness. Number 3, anti-inflammatory herbs are critical. Turmeric, galangal, and ginger are 3 of my favorites, but turmeric specifically, I would do about 3,000 milligrams daily of turmeric if you have inflammation. Number 4, just do a lot of vegetables, okay? Vegetables are going to be good that are cooked. So in most cases, now if you digest pretty well, you can do raw as well, but just a big salad or a big a bowl of vegetable soup is another great thing. That's number 4. And number 5, reducing stress by getting out and going for a walk. Spend time outside, outdoors as much as possible. Lowers cortisol, increases melatonin, helps reduce inflammation in the body. And if you can go barefoot, even better. And bonus tip, if you got a lot of joint pain, getting in a pool can be really good there as well. All right. Someone said here, I don't trust supplements. So here's what I would say. I don't trust a lot of supplements either. If you buy supplements, they should be comprised mostly of food. So let me give you an example. For breakfast this morning, here's the supplements I took. I took bone broth in a powder form, bone broth protein. I mixed coconut milk, blueberries. So I got my supplements from a company, Ancient Nutrition, and there's some other good ones out there, but that only uses food-based ingredients. Did you know that you can get your vitamins from rocks? By the way, this is where they get a lot of vitamins from. They will go and take stones in the ground that have minerals in them, so mineral-based stone. They'll take it, they'll isolate those, and they'll put those in supplements. Also, sometimes supplements can be made, these nutrients, synthetically, but the best of the best supplements are in food form. For instance, one of the companies I buy from, again, Ancient Nutrition, what they will do is they will take an algae like spirulina. They'll then inject a small amount of zinc into it, allow it to ferment and grow, just kind of like milk can turn into yogurt or kefir, probiotic rich, and it actually will grow iron or B12 or a nutrient in there, and then that's turned into a supplement. So all this being said, yeah, I don't trust 90% of supplement companies either. If you are buying supplements, you want to make sure it has a lot of food in it. So again, my other supplements I took this morning, I took turmeric. I also took reishi mushroom. I also took, I'm trying to think of all the other things I took here because I took quite a bit. I took a fish oil supplement. And I took a green superfood powder. That was the other big one I took. And that had spirulina, chlorella, all these superfoods in it. So again, yes, you need to be careful. By the way, there was a study that came out recently, and I believe the number was over 50% of supplement brands, when they went and tested what was actually in the supplement, 50% of the brands out there, and by the way, a lot of these were sports nutrition, kind of the bodybuilder-like supplements, but most of them didn't even have the ingredients they said were in there, and there were actually toxins and other things in there that weren't in there at all. Question here by Joy. She says, I heard possibly that Ancient Nutrition was bought by another company. Actually, no, Ancient Nutrition is owned by myself and Jordan Rubin and a lot of other incredible health experts out there that are investors in it. So actually, no, that's not true. Let's see here. Dr. Rice, what can I do for allergy relief? Here's the thing, by the way. The biggest secret I can tell you for allergy relief is to start working on allergies before you have the symptoms. And here's what you do. Buy bee pollen and raw local honey, those two things. Bee pollen and raw local honey. Take them every day. And it's just a teaspoon of honey and a teaspoon of bee pollen. Buy it locally. I bought mine at my local farmer's market. Now you can buy it online, but it's best if it's in your region. So go to your local health food store or your farmer's market and buy bee pollen and raw honey, okay? 1 teaspoon of each every single day. And next year, your allergies will be lessened. And here's the other big thing. Spend a lot of time outdoors when allergies are high. That 2-week period, typically when allergies are the highest in the fall and spring, get an air filtration, get an air filter. Have it in the house you're in and spend a little time less time those 2 weeks. But generally speaking, if you eat a lot of local foods from your farmer's market, especially bee pollen and honey, that will help with allergies tremendously. In addition, herbs like astragalus help bolster and strengthen your immune system, and a multi-mushroom supplement to where you'll probably have less allergies with that as well. Those are some of the top things you could do. Question here about eczema for a toddler. If you have a toddler with eczema, here's the root cause. It tends to be caused by too much dampness in their digestive system, and sometimes too much heat, but typically too much dampness. And for adults, we would call that candida. And so what you typically need to do is get off dairy, get off wheat and get off fruits like bananas, because those are very dampening and slimy and moistening foods. You need more foods that will kind of help get dampness out of the body. What foods do that? Well, some of the best foods would include meat that is lean and organic. So chicken, grass-fed beef, salmon, but getting more of those foods. Bone broth is very good. Vegetables that are steamed, and kids can dip those in hummus. Hummus helps dry the body out in a good way because it's got herbs like garlic. Also, even garbanzo beans or chickpeas actually help with that as well. So very, very good. And so I would say that those are some of the best things that you'd want to consider doing for kids' eczema. Topically, I would do oils like coconut oil mixed with essential oils like geranium and lavender, and chamomile is probably my favorite oil there as well to kind of help out with some of those issues. And there are other good things as well. All right, question now on Instagram. What can I do for low adrenals? Listen, if you're a person that's constantly tired, okay, you're tired all the time. By the way, before I answer this question, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this live right now, punch the share button, click the love button, help me spread the truth about how we can heal naturally. And so again, thanks everybody who's on mission with me, by the way, who's sharing this video, who's helping, who's making these great comments. I'm so grateful that everybody's engaging. By the way, if you know anybody who needs to jump on now, send them a text message, let them know about it. Thanks so much for this, everybody. Really appreciate that. So going back to adrenals, if you're a person who every day at some point you just feel tired, you're just dragging. Well, the first thing you typically need to fix is your sleep, okay? You want to try and get 8 hours of sleep, but not make sure you're going to bed early enough and you're waking up at the right time. So that's the first thing you need to do is get better quality sleep. And do your best at go to bed at 10, wake up at 6, right? But something like that, but get good sleep. The next thing is you need to just have a couple pockets during the week where you're doing something you love, something where you can just relax and do something you love to do. Write down what are all the things that you love to do that you know refresh you and energize you. Listen, stress is natural and normal. All of us have stress. We have stress as being parents, some of us. We have stress of relationships. We have stress of work life, stress, all kinds of different stress. Here's what I'd have you do. Write down on a sheet of paper or put it on your computer. Make 2 lists. 1, what are the biggest stressors in your life? Write all those down. Make another list of what are all of the things that when you're doing them, stress just melts away. For me, it's reading a novel. It could be spending time walking trails outside. It could be doing a date night with my spouse or watching football games Saturday mornings with some of my closest guy friends. So I'm writing down, these are some of the things I love to do. And then what are all the things stressing me out? Do your best to manage and get rid of some of the things that are stressing you out. Now, obviously, you won't be able to get rid of a lot of them, but what are the best things that you can kind of deal with? And then on this other side here, start focusing on incorporating some of the things you love to do in your life. Those naturally relieve stress. Now, in addition, for your adrenal glands, my favorite herb is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is also great for thyroid health. So if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's thyroiditis, I would also take ashwagandha. I like mushrooms like reishi and cordyceps, which are very, very good. And then in terms of diet, low sugar. You do want to get some quality grains like rice, but mostly meat, vegetables, and berries. Those are the best foods, and some beans are actually fine as well, as we're talking about how to overcome adrenal fatigue there as well. All right, a few other questions. How can I help anxiety? As we think about anxiety and depression, this is true as well. I think, with anxiety specifically, oftentimes we're worried about things that are outside of our control. And having anxiety generally, I think the first realization people need to come to before I get into supplements, I think you need to be aware of you have control to worry about things or not worry about them. And I think you need to write down, okay, what is it I have anxiety about? What is causing my anxiety? Okay, write that down. Identify what is that thing. once you know what it is, it's something like, well, it's the economy, or maybe they're going to force me to get some medical thing I don't want done, or they could force it on my kids, or there's a war going on in the Middle East, right? There's all these things you could have anxiety about. I think you need to think about, okay, here's the second thing. Here's what I'm worrying about or have anxiety about. Number 2, is worrying me doing me any good? This anxiety, is it helping me? Okay, no, it's not. Okay. Well, what can I do in order to help it? Anxiety, here's the biggest thing I've found as I've worked with patients, and even if I've ever had anxiety myself, I try and change my perception. So there's something going on, and rather than focusing on that thing, I decide to place my focus on something else. That's big. So you change what you're focusing on. That's what you want to do. So again, if you're worried about getting let go at work, okay, what can you control? I'm going to instead focus on growing my skills and my leadership abilities and on a side hustle now. So you're just simply shifting your focus will greatly help you overcome anxiety. Now, in terms of supplements, St. John's wort is one of the best in terms of the clinical studies. Fish oil is probably the next best because it's high in omega-3 fats. Diet-wise, doing a diet that's high in healthy fat, protein, and fiber, getting rid of the sugar, but a diet high in healthy fat and protein is what you want. So a lot of meat and a lot of coconut and avocado and olives and wild-caught fish, a lot of those sort of foods. That's going to be the best thing that's probably going to help with anxiety. Magnesium is a mineral, is known as the relaxation mineral. That'll also help. All right, let's go ahead and keep asking your questions here. We'd love to see your questions come in. And whether you're watching on YouTube Live, I see your questions coming in. Excited to answer those Facebook Live or Instagram Live here as well. Question about bloating. If you've got bloating, you should buy a bloating tea, and it should have fennel, it should have fenugreek, it should have ginger, it should have maybe licorice root, chamomile, but buy a bloating tea and eat mostly meat and vegetables. If you're eating meat and a lot of sugar and carbs together, that will affect you. Susan asks here, she just says sleep. How do I get better sleep? Here are my best tips for getting better sleep. Number 1, the more time you spend outside, the better you will sleep. That's principle number 1. The sun or the outdoor light starts to get your circadian rhythms in tune. And so the most important time to get sunlight is right when you wake up in the morning. If you can go for a walk or just stand outside for 5 minutes, it will start to reset your melatonin and cortisol levels. So that's number 1, get time outside. Number 2, make sure your room at night is dark and cold. Put out those blackout shades. Do everything you can to make your room dark and cold. Next, get a weighted blanket. You can buy these on Amazon. Studies have shown if you are wearing a weighted blanket, you feel more secure and safe, almost like you're being hugged, and you sleep better at night. And last 2 things. The other thing I would say is if you want to get better sleep, you need to stop looking at mobile devices and TVs and computers. That blue light, it actually throws your circadian rhythms off. And so what you want to do instead is you want to wear blue blocker glasses if you're going to watch anything. So that I put them on right after dinner, just those orange sunglasses. You can buy them for not that much on Amazon. And then even an hour before bed, I tend to try and turn that off and instead listen to an audiobook. So I listen to things on audio or read with a dim light rather than being on an actual device that has that blue light. And so that's sort of what I do at night. And then from a supplement standpoint, CBD oil is fantastic. Magnesium can be great. Chamomile tea is another good one that can help you get better sleep at night. Tammy says, I'm newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Tammy, I would say if you have type 1 diabetes, know that it's both autoimmune in nature in terms of how it's affecting your pancreas. And what you want to be able to do there is first follow a diet that's going to keep your blood sugar balanced. You can get a levels blood sugar monitor, wear that around. It will tell you where you're at with your blood sugar constantly. And so I would eat, your diet should be mostly meat and vegetables and fat. Very, very low carbohydrates and sugar. The most important supplements are chromium picolinate. Chromium, you want to do 200 milligrams with meals. You can also take cinnamon, and there's another supplement called berberine. But that's what I would do to get your body as balanced as you possibly can. I also like, Yeah, those are the best. There could be more, but those are the ones that I think you'll have the most luck with here. Let's see here. A few other questions here. Somebody asked, what is zinc good for? Zinc is known as the immune system mineral. So that's the biggest thing, is it's really good for your immune system. And so, by the way, zinc is also critical for acne. If anybody has chronic acne or skin issues, typically the biggest thing you're missing is the mineral zinc. Zinc is also good for sperm production in men. So if men have low libido, it's very important for that. So it's important for reproductive health, it's important for skin health, and it's important for immune health as well. Someone asked here, what about beef liver for inflammation? I think one of the biggest supplements we're missing today they're known as glandular supplements. Many of our ancestors consumed a lot of organ meats like liver, and organ meats are the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. And what you can do if you don't like the taste of them is you can buy them in capsule or tablet form. Again, I take it from Ancient Nutrition. They've got a great one for men who want to keep their testosterone high as they age. It's called Male Performance. And for women who want to stay younger and balance their hormones, there's one I think it's called like Women's Formula. But if you just look up Ancient Nutrition Organs or Ancient Nutrition Glandulars on Amazon.com, you'll find it out there. But I love those organ blends or just plain liver by Ancient Nutrition. As you go on Amazon and online, that's what I would check out here. Tips for PCOS. PCOS is all about keeping blood sugar balanced. It's essentially, it's very similar to a type of diabetes. So if you can balance your blood sugar, so women who have PCOS, stay away from the carbs, stay away from all the potatoes and pasta and rice and chips and bread and all the stuff. Instead, do meat, vegetables, berries. Meat, vegetables, berries, a little bit of healthy fat, and then do very similar things I mentioned earlier. Cinnamon, chromium is very good, and probably Vitex is another one I like there for that specific issue. As we've talked about. And very similar thing, someone asked about endometriosis. Very, very similar thing. Only thing with endometriosis is up your anti-inflammatory supplements and foods as well. Loads and loads of turmeric, probably 3,000 milligrams a day, once to twice daily, I would say, is the best thing there. Let's see here. A few other questions here. How to get rid of belly fat. Here's the best way to get rid of belly fat. By the way, the clinical studies on this. The first way is diet. Again, I mentioned this several times, but it's the same thing with diabetes. Meat and vegetables, that is your diet. So for breakfast, here's what you'll do. You'll wake up and you'll do bone broth protein or collagen protein or plant protein or all three, but you want to get about 40 to 50 grams of protein in the morning. And then you could have maybe some berries with it, maybe like half a cup of frozen blueberries. And some water. That's what you should do for breakfast if you want to lose weight fast. For lunch, do a grass-fed burger with vegetables. For dinner, have vegetable soup with chicken. But meat and vegetables, meat and vegetables, meat and vegetables, meat and vegetables. That's how to lose weight fast. Exercise-wise, here's what you do. If you have an hour 3 days a week, let's say you could work out 3 days a week. Now, the more you exercise, not the more the better, but if you could go 5 days a week, that's even better. But let's say you just have 3 for 1 hour. You want to do 30 to 40 minutes of weight training followed by 20 minutes of interval cardio. Let's say you have 45 minutes, okay? 30 minutes of weight. So go in there and lift your larger muscle groups, your legs, your back, these big areas, and then do 15 minutes of go hard for a minute, then easy for a minute on a spin bike or an elliptical or treadmill. But if you do that where you do the weights plus interval training and do mostly meat and vegetables, fat will just fall right off of you. And listen, there are supplements, but they don't move the needle that much. Matcha green tea is pretty good for that. But generally, just get more protein. That's the best. That's what you should try and do. Question here about what do you do for anemia or if your iron levels are low? Here's what you need to do. Number one, I mentioned earlier, take organ meat supplements, organs. Take liver in capsule form, take organs and stuff, but you want to get a lot of that. The next thing you want to do is take a highly absorbable form of iron. And then the third thing you want to do is two other things. You want to take dong quai. It's a Chinese herb, dong quai. And the other thing I would recommend is taking a probiotic supplement. Probiotics will help you better absorb iron. But again, you want to do a lot of cooked vegetables and cooked meat, especially red meat, like grass-fed beef to get your iron levels up. Those will help. And beets actually also can help elevate those iron levels for you a bit there as well. All right, I'm going to continue answering some health questions for the next little bit. But by the way, if you have other questions about mental health, mindset, personal growth, I would love to answer any of those questions for you as well. All right, we're getting some great comments and questions here from everybody. Somebody asked, will this be recorded? Yes, it will be going live on YouTube. It'll stay there live on Facebook as well, so you'll be able to find this if you go to YouTube. If you simply go to YouTube and just search Josh Axe, you'll also see I have a podcast that I'm regularly coming out with that we're getting rave reviews on. I interviewed Carrie Underwood a few weeks ago. You should go and watch that interview. Have Dave Ramsey coming up. Actually, I interview him in 2 days from now. Jordan Rubin will be on in the future. Vani Hari from Food Babe interviewed her. So if you're not subscribed to the podcast, you should really go check out the podcast. We're getting into some really good stuff on there as well. All right, a question here. What is the quickest and most cost-effective way to resolve gut dysbiosis, so an unhealthy digestive system? By the way, before I answer this, do me a favor. Thank you, everybody who right now is punching the share button, clicking the love button, helping me spread the truth about mindset medicine and food is medicine and how we can heal naturally. Thanks, everybody, so much for sharing this. Really, really appreciate it. Everybody who's on mission with me here. And again, I started this podcast and I started this channel, these channels that you're on now, because I wanted to help people heal, and I wanted to help people grow and become their best selves. And that's my goal, is to help you do the very, very same. So thanks, everybody who is doing. I see so many of you sharing this. Thanks so much, everybody who is doing this. I think I just lost the question I had in my head. Do you actually remember what I asked? It's okay. Gut dysbiosis. Okay. So if you've got an unhealthy digestive system, or in overgrowth of bad bacteria and not enough good, here's what you need to do. You're going to be like, Dr. Axe, you're a broken record. Eat a lot of organic meat and a lot of vegetables. Cut out the grains, the sugars, all that stuff. And then do a high doses of probiotics. You want to do soil-based organisms. Now, you said cheaply, just take one supplement then. SBO probiotics. You can go to Amazon and search SBO, that stands for soil-based organism. Search soil-based organism or SBO probiotics. I take Ancient Nutrition. There's probably a couple other brands that have it. But soil-based probiotics, because those are the type of probiotics, and you might already know this, certain types of probiotics are good for different things, okay? For what you're talking about, soil-based probiotics help clear out some of the bad stuff. Okay, so take soil-based probiotics. Then from a food standpoint, meat and vegetables, and then get some probiotics via sauerkraut, okay? I also like coconut kefir, okay? So you can buy coconut kefir and coconut yogurt, some sauerkraut. You want to do it cost effectively? Make sauerkraut at home. Cost almost nothing to make. And that's what you should do. That's the key to overcoming gut dysbiosis. I promise that will really help. I've worked with thousands of people with inflammatory bowel disease, and this has helped tremendously there as well. Let's see here. Got some questions about how much exercise does someone need to be healthy? Oh, goodness. I would say that it's less about exercise, it's more about movement, and it also depends on where you're at now. Let me say this. I actually think most people don't realize how good walking is for them. If you're a person who just does not want to exercise, okay, walk a lot. Walk 20 minutes in the morning. Walk 20 minutes around lunch. Like, hey, you just got done eating, you're on your lunch break, take 20 minutes and walk. And when you get done around dinner, if you can't, go on a 20-minute walk. Now, if it's cold outside and it's snowing, here's what I would say. Walk anyways, at least once a day. And then if you can, maybe you try and get a spin bike at home, whether it's a Peloton or something you picked up at your local thrift store, or secondhand sports shop. Get on there for just 20 minutes, just spin, do something like that. But I would say doing 20-minute workouts whether it's a walk or a spin bike or just a quick weights for even 10 minutes, I mean, that can be really effective. But here's the thing. You want to move every day, even if it's just a 20-minute walk. That's the best I have there. And when you look at the blue zones and people that have lived the longest, it wasn't actually people that are really physically fit and buff that lived the longest. It was just people that were active. They were biking. They were outside walking their dogs. They were playing with their kids or grandkids in the yard. They were just active people. So it's not about exercise. It's about being active. Now, I think you should exercise, but lifespan-wise, it's about activity. Great questions here from so many people. Thanks so much for jumping on, everybody. Everybody keeps asking me to save this. Yes, I'm saving this right now. If you go to YouTube and subscribe, make sure to subscribe when you go to YouTube so you get updated anytime I do these lives and podcasts. You can check this out here as well. All right, best multivitamin for women. Again, I really love Ancient Nutrition. There's other good brands. That's the one my wife personally takes right now. Let's see here. Got some other questions. Can you please share your thoughts on berberine for blood sugar? I love berberine for blood sugar. So if you want to keep your blood sugar balanced, cinnamon is probably my favorite, berberine and chromium. Those are the best. Someone asked a question about ovarian fibroids. If you have fibroids, very similar to PCOS, exact same thing I mentioned earlier with PCOS. It is a form of diabetes in a way, or it's not diabetes, it's a form of insulin. It's an insulin issue. And so take what I just mentioned. Chromium, cinnamon, berberine. Then follow a diet that's high in protein, 30 to 50 grams per meal. So eat mostly meat and mostly vegetables, okay? If you need a few carbs, do some berries, maybe a little bit of rice. But that's what you should do, and you'll see dramatic results. Also, some anti-inflammatories are good. I should mention that as well. Supplements like turmeric or ginger, I would also say is a very good move there. Question about ice baths. I was waiting for this. Okay. Doing a cold plunge, I got my brother-in-law here with me. I got to share a quick story about my brother-in-law, Noah. He bought a freezer, those chest freezers you put in your garage typically, and turned it into a cold plunge. And so, he did this on a budget. I thought it was a great idea. So here's what I would say about the cold plunge phenomenon. Listen to your body. If your body gets really cold internally, you're one of those people that your hands are always cold and your feet are always cold and you're always cold. You can cold plunge or do a cold shower, but only do it a couple days a week in order to test your body. And then you're probably better off with an infrared sauna and doing hot baths as well. So you want to be careful. If you're cold temperatured, you can do some cold plunges and you can do cold showers, but you really need to mix it with some heat. You need to make sure you're doing some hot baths, hot tubs, or infrared sauna, infrared blanket. You need to make sure you're balancing it out. My favorite, by the way, it's called contrast therapy. It's where you're doing both cold and hot therapy throughout the day. So what I like doing is getting in a cold plunge or doing cryo and then getting into an infrared sauna, or a similar thing. If you're at home, you get into a cold plunge and then hot, or a shower. You can do this in the shower. This is the most cost-effective way to do it. You get the shower really hot and then you get it really cold. And hot and cold, you do it 3 times, 1 minute each. It's good. It's actually training your body to deal with and normalize being very cold or being very warm. Now listen, don't burn yourself in the shower, okay? Don't burn your skin, but get it really hot and then get it really cold. That contrast therapy can be very, very good for you. Or switch every other day. Take a cold shower one day, hot the other. But here's the benefits. Cold helps increase human growth hormone, which helps you age more slowly. Okay, so that's a big benefit of cold. Cold also reduces inflammation. So if you have inflammatory conditions, cold is very good for that as well. It's good for all kinds of things, but cold is very good primarily for inflammation, for better sleep, for hormone balance. Infrared is very good for fighting certain types of infections and viruses and diseases. When your body raises its temperature and your body temperature gets high enough, it actually kills viruses and parasites and bad bacteria that lie dormant in your cells. And it's also incredibly good for weight loss, so for stoking up your metabolism. Have a question here. What's the most effective way to detox the body of mold? Listen, so many people are living in homes with mold in it and have mold issues. What I would say is, number one, reduce the source, right? Get rid. If you're in a moldy house or place, do your best to either have someone come in and eradicate the mold or get into a different place where there's no mold. Then get an air filter, okay? Get an air cleanser, especially in your bedroom where you're sleeping at night. And then what I would do is follow the diet I talked about earlier, mostly meat and vegetables. From an herbal standpoint, I really like olive leaf. I like oregano. I also like astragalus a lot because it strengthens your system to where it's better off at killing mold. And then I like taking a probiotic supplement is another big thing. And then probably my favorite thing for mold, actually someone just mentioned it here. Ocean Way on YouTube says this, ozone therapy is the most effective natural treatment, hands down, to eliminate mold from your body. So if you have mold toxicity, you can go and find a functional medicine practitioner. And there are different names from it. There's one called 10-Pass, which they'll do. There's another one called EBOO. It's EBOO. But find someone in your area that does ozone, where they put ozone into your blood or ozone as an IV. And that helps cleanse mold and those mycotoxins out of your blood. Somebody is asking about the best air filter. Would please answer that question if anybody knows of a good air filter company. I have one. I think it's called IntelliPure. 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 That's the one that I personally have in my house. Now, listen, there's some other good ones, but those are some of my favorites. By the way, if you're enjoying this live video right now of me doing this live, do me a favor, punch the share button, click the love button, help share this with people because more people need to know the truth about how to use food as medicine and how to practice mindset medicine. And I'm talking a lot about health today. But you also may be aware that one of the things I'm continuing to do more and more in the future is teaching about your mindset. I truly believe your mind is the most powerful tool you have to heal your relationships, to make more money, to love people better. So improving our mind and our personal growth. And by the way, I have a new podcast that's out. Some of you maybe have never seen this. We're posting it. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes, on Apple. If you just search, or if you're on YouTube now, Josh Axe or Dr. Axe, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because we've got a lot of great information coming out. And if you listen to podcasts, we just had Carrie Underwood on the show. We had Dave Ramsey on the show. We've had Michael Hyatt on the show. I had Vani Hari on the show. We have Mark Hyman coming up on the show. So many incredible guests. We had Daniel Amen. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't listened, jump on and listen there as well. And just want to say thanks so much to everybody who is helping share this as well. I really, really appreciate it. Everybody who's sharing this. Real Talk says, my mindset needs work. You know, here's what I found with mindset. So much of it is about perception. Here is how you grow, and here's how you should think. You really want to think about your life as not all the things you can gain, but what can you give? What can you contribute? And think about what are your greatest talents you have? You know, maybe you're really great at encouraging people, or maybe you really understand business well, or maybe you have a great singing voice, whatever it is. Write down what are your top talents and your top strengths. Write those down, okay? And once you know what your top gifts and talents are and skills, then think about how can I use this for good? How can I use this to make society better? And then get to action. When you're doing that and adding value to other people, it's one of the greatest things you can do for your mindset. Studies have shown when you're constantly, and this is true for anyone that's sick, anyone who's watching this and you are not feeling well, okay, you're dealing with a health issue. It could be fibromyalgia. It could be, we talked to a couple people today from PCOS, whatever it is. We tend to focus on our own health issue. Now listen, you should focus on your own health issue and do what you can, take the steps to do it. But don't obsess over it. Don't think about yourself as a victim all the time. Instead, start thinking about, okay, what can I do about what I'm learning and pass this on to someone else? So if you watch this video and you go and start changing something and you realize, you know what, I followed this advice and it changed my life. Go and tell someone about it. Start contributing and adding value to people. It'll do so much actually for your mindset and your mood and you helping you find your purpose, because I believe that God created everyone with a very unique purpose. And when you are operating in your purpose and your God-given gifts, you're happy because you're contributing. Let me give you an example of this too. Recently I gave somebody a gift. I spent really a good amount of time thinking about a really thoughtful gift for somebody, and I gave it to them. And when they got it, like they lit up, and I could tell, this is a really meaningful gift. And they let me know that. Like I felt so good about that I was able to give to somebody in that way. And so know that it's one thing to be able to just receive something. It's another thing to be able to give. So think about how can I give more and do something that's meaningful, something that's eternal, something that's spiritual in nature sometimes too, can really help with your mindset, as I've spent a lot of time studying mindset. By the way, I have a new book coming out in April of next year, and it's all about mindset and how to heal. It's all about mindset medicine. By the way, this is the first time I've ever mentioned this. If you go to Amazon.com right now and search Josh Axe and search Think This, Not That. So search Think This, that's the book title, Think This, Not That. So if you just search Josh Axe, Think This, the book will come up. Hey, check it out. You could pre-order it now or check it out. At least I think it's up there. It may not be for pre-order, but at least you could check it out there. I'm really excited about that coming up. And again, thanks everybody for your support. Thanks everybody for the great questions. And I'm gonna start doing a weekly Q&A. And if you want to make sure you know when I'm doing this Q&A so you can get your question answered, you're going to have to go to YouTube and subscribe there. And if you're not on YouTube, then you can simply make sure you're subscribed here on Facebook or Instagram or on the podcast. And we're going to be putting out I'm going to be putting out a Q&A every single week, sometimes on different topics. We might do one on, let's say, hormone balance, another on women's health, another on men's health, another on mindset, another on personal growth, another on... So anyways, we'll cover a lot of this. But again, hey, thanks. And last time, thanks everybody who's sharing this, for clicking that share button. Thanks everybody who's loving this. And thanks everybody who's commenting and asking the great questions. Hey, I'm signing off now, but want to say thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for the great questions. I'll be back next week. And hey, in the meantime, if you say, hey, I want to learn more, go listen to the podcast. It's called The Growth Lab. I released some new episodes. If you go to YouTube right now or iTunes, just search Josh Axe Podcast. You'll find some great episodes I think you'll love. Thanks, everybody.